Good morning. In this video, I'm going to take a short segment of Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and compare it to the Peterson-Harris debate. So thanks for watching. The practical objectives of working out these ideas, which may be pretty incomplete for the time being because I'm basically thinking out loud, are twofold. One, as a clinician, I'm looking for ways that what I'm figuring out can be applied to actual people's lives and to making them better. And two, as a concerned citizen of the world, developing an individual personal philosophy that can contribute to what I believe is the most pressing issue of our time. How do we develop an ethic, a moral framework that can work in conjunction with the speed that technology is expanding? And I think this is a lot of what Pirsig was trying to figure out. Pirsig died last year, so at some point I want to see if any of his more recent writings had a sense of this 21st century technology in terms of the problems we're seeing now. So here I want to start at what occurs toward the end of the book, which is where Pieters goes to the University of Chicago to major in philosophy and to figure out quality. His whole objective is to figure out quality, and he wants to do this by studying the ancient Greeks. So I see in Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and in Pirsig many ideas that Jordan Peterson addresses. This one in particular is logos versus mythos. Is it something like Sam Harris versus Peterson? As we recall, Sam Harris sees rationality and materialism as capable of providing all the answers we need, including the moral ones. Jordan Peterson, on the other hand, sees rationality as being nested in a higher mythos which logos can organize, but that we very much need both interacting at all times. At least this is where we left off in the dialogue between the two, and who knows what they talked about in the not yet broadcast debate or dialogue in which they are said to have made some headway, but for the time being we're just going to go with what we know so far, the status quo. So this is a discussion of where Pieters is going to arrive at how the ancient Greeks caused reason to be the foundation for all Western thought, and how that was a mistake. So it's at the end of the book, maybe the last fifth, and in this particular copy, which I'm using, is, sorry about the glare, is page 358. To understand how he arrived at his condemnation of the classic Greeks, it's necessary to review in summary form the mythos over logos argument, which is well known to scholars of Greek and is often a cause of fascination with that area of study. The term logos, the root word of logic, refers to the sum total of our rational understanding in the world. Mythos is the sum total of the early historic and prehistoric myths which preceded the logos. The mythos includes not only the Greek myths, but the Old Testament, the Vedic hymns, and the early legends of all cultures which have contributed to our present world understanding. The mythos over logos argument states that our rationality is shaped by these legends, that our knowledge today is in relation to those legends, as a tree is in relation to the little shrub it once was. One can gain great insights into the complex overall structure of the tree by studying the much simpler shape of the shrub. There's no difference in kind or even difference in identity, only a difference in size. So here he's describing what I guess is an established stance in philosophy, mythos over logos, and that stance to me seems to be the Peterson position. Later we'll see the Aristotelian position is more of the Harris stance, which is logos is prime and mythos is not real. Pieters wants to go back in time to the origin of this inversion and to correct it, and that's kind of like what Peterson seems to be trying to do. So look at this diagram from Maps of Meaning, which seems to explain the shrub analogy, and also, to some extent, relates to the Darwinism that Peterson indicates creates this progression in civilization. So you can see in this diagram how human wisdom has a tree-like structure, how it layers upon itself, very much evolutionarily as well. The mythos over logos argument points to the fact that each child is born as ignorant as any caveman. What keeps the world from reverting to the Neanderthal with each generation is the continuing ongoing mythos, transformed into logos but still mythos, the huge body of common knowledge that unites our minds as cells are united in the body of man. To feel that one is not so united, that one can accept or discard this mythos as one pleases, is not to understand what the mythos is. Now this demonstrates elements of the Harris position that the mythos can be discounted as superstition, since logos is really all we need. Logic and observation of the material world is enough. Quality is the generator of the mythos. That's it. That's what he meant when he said quality is the continuing stimulus which causes us to create the world in which we live. All of it. Every last bit of it. Religion isn't invented by man. Men are invented by religion. Men invented responses to quality, and among these responses is an understanding of what they themselves are. You know something, and then the quality stimulus hits, and then you try to define the quality stimulus, but to define it, all you've got to work with is what you know. So your definition is made up of what you know. It's an analog to what you already know. It has to be. It can't be anything else. And the mythos grows in this way. By analogies to what is known before, the mythos is a building of analogs upon analogs upon analogs. These fill the boxcars of the train of consciousness. The mythos is the whole train of collective consciousness of all communicating mankind. Every last bit of it. The quality is the track that directs the train. Now here's the introduction of quality into this section. And quality is what allows anything to happen at all. It's the process of bringing order out of chaos, or what is better out of all potential. And there is one way to look at it on a scientific level, which I guess could potentially bolster both sides of the argument. This is the great neuroscientist Jaak Panksepp describing the most important emotional system of the 7 emotional systems that he has documented. And this is the reward or seeking system, Panksepp calls it, without which nothing can happen at all, since if you don't sense something is better, you're not going to pursue it.
And then something called reward. It turns out this reward is not like anything that we experience in the world. This is something we experience inside. It is a feeling that we don't have good words for. Words might be like enthusiasm, interest, engagement, happiness, a certain form of happiness that the animal experiences internally, and that drives it into the world to look for good things. So we called it the seeking system, and I think that is a very good word for the fundamental nature, the primary process.
So what are practical applications of these short sections and discussing them? So can we accept that logos may very well be embedded in mythos? That mythos is the soup of culture and evolution of human experience and collective unconscious that logos articulates, rather than the other way around. Phaedrus wants to get back to this concept, as does Jordan Peterson. Wants to get back to the concept that mythos is prime and logos is something that comes from it. And later we'll see why Phaedrus thinks that what Aristotle did was so deeply harmful to Western culture. So could it be that this potential paradigm shift from mythos over logos is the key to dealing with some of the problems that technology is causing us and may cause us in the future? Could it also open up a sense of ourselves as much older and more connected to the totality of humanity? So I hope that made sense, and I'll see you next time.